Let's end our study of Joseph with showing some real wise administration. Remember, one of the problems he had early on in his administration was he didn't think of consequences. He acted according to what was on his heart. He just did it, not thinking of how it would impact other people. Well, by this time, when we're reading in chapter 46, we start seeing that now he thinks of consequences. Just like with the dream, just like with planning, with looking ahead, thinking, this is what we need, these are the steps we need to do. This was all with his plan for Pharaoh. Now he's thinking about his family, his father, and all of them coming in. And we read in chapter 46, verse 31, where he meets with his brothers and everything. And Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and tell Pharaoh and say to him, my brothers and those of my father's house who are in the land of Canaan have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for their occupation has been to feed livestock. And they have brought their flocks and their herds and all they have. So it shall be when the Pharaoh calls you and says, what is your occupation? You'll say, your servant's occupation has been with livestock from our youth, even till now, both we and our fathers, that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. Okay, and then it says in 47, Joseph went and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brothers, their flocks and their herds, and all they have possessed, they come from Canaan, indeed and indeed they're in the land of Goshen. And he took 5 men from among his brothers and presented them to Pharaoh. And then Pharaoh again goes on with his dialogue. So let me explain what's happening here. Is Joseph was thinking, okay, where is the best place for my family to reside in this entire kingdom? And so he's thinking through, I think it's Goshen. There's great land there. It's a great place for their crops. They're far enough removed from the central core of the Egyptian population to not be bothered, to not be harassed, because they are foreigners. He might have been thinking about intermarrying and things, about keeping the Israelites more holy or something like that. He may have been thinking of all of those things. So you see, he's planning ahead. So he's thinking, okay, I want them to be in Goshen. This is the administrator working here. How do I get approval to do this? Well, first he coaches his brothers and all his relatives what to say, how to act, how to behave. He directs them, you go to the land of Goshen right now and you stay there. So he was counseling them. He had all this insight with being the administrator of the land. I want you to go there. I want you to stay there. I want you to act this way. I want you to do this. And then he hand selects 5 of his brothers who he thinks are going to make the best impression on the Pharaoh. So he's already staging. See, he's staging the whole drama with Pharaoh. And because he's got a personal relationship with Pharaoh, he knows how Pharaoh is likely to act. And he thinks, oh, well, see, because the Egyptians don't like sheep or shepherds, and because that's sort of, an occupation they don't like, then the Pharaoh is not going to insist that my family come live right there in the central palace and things like that. He'll actually agree to have them outside. And it will be beneficial to my family and everything. So see, he's thinking this through. And so he stages this whole thing, and it all goes according to plan. He's planned it out well as an administrator. And so it's all in place, and all of this works having God's blessing. See, that's really part of administration that I hadn't thought, and I discovered that you need to be thinking ahead. You need to be thinking of consequences. You need to be thinking of relationships with people. You need to be thinking of ways in which you can inspire people to come together to the goals you want to see created, the goals you want to come together. You want to think what's beneficial for everyone, how to make that work, instead of just thinking, oh, I have this idea, I'm just going to do it. And Joseph learned that. He learned being from a bad administrator and those terrible experiences he had as a 17-year-old to now being a fine administrator and things. See, these, now that I've been an administrator, I think in a lot of ways, these things I've just shared with you are more important than computer programming, are more important than what I do about organization, are more important about these. I mean, these are skills that, yeah, they're important to the job, but I could shipwreck my administration by missing these principles, dealing with people, thinking ahead, planning, all of those sort of things, the moral consequences of my actions. You see, as a chairperson of a department of music, I'm now looked upon as being a representative of this group. And so the way I behave in public, the way I am at the grocery store, the way I am, and out this and that, and the way I am reflects now upon my institution. You may not have thought of that, but when you no longer have, when you move into administration, in a way, the higher up you move into administration, the less freedom you have, in a way, over your own life. Less choices. Because when I was just a faculty member, the only consequences I had were just pretty much reflected on me. You could, if I was mad at that person, well, I could just tell them off, But as an administrator, if I had, say the same words I might say as a faculty member, or get mad or upset or things, there's more consequences than as me as just a faculty member to faculty member. There's now consequences with me as an administrator with a faculty member, and then the faculty member going to other faculty members, and you can't believe the consequences that go with that. Those are things I didn't understand going to administration, and it's fascinating. Administration is a process of self-discovery. And that's how I want to sum up this second section is, you will learn more about yourself, your strengths and your failings by being an administrator than not. And why will you learn more about it? Because people will tell you. They will be very quick to tell you your faults. And it will be like, at home you have one mirror. Maybe it's in your bathroom. Being an administrator in your office, there's 20 or 30 mirrors that people bring in and they hold up to you, and you see that, you did this. That's the life of an administrator. And I'll tell you, it is fascinating. It's wonderful. I have learned so much about myself. I have grown in ways I would have never grown. And I hope every one of you here has that opportunity to be an administrator, to grow. Because I just think that self-discovery and self-growth make it in many ways worth everything.